Most of us can pinpoint the exact moment math stopped feeling like a tool and started feeling like a wall. One day the numbers made sense. The next, they were a blur of abstract rules. We treat this struggle as a failure to learn a foreign language. The common assumption is that mathematics is a rigid syntax of symbols, like Python or C++, that must be painstakingly installed into a student's mind over a decade of schooling. This perspective relies on the blank slate theory, the belief that humans arrive in the world with zero innate mathematical capability. These archival pages from the mathematical brain seem to support that emptiness. Without cultural data or symbols to fill them, the pages remain silent. This theory creates a sharp social divide. If you cannot compile the math code in a classroom, you are labeled as someone who simply lacks the specific brain for it. If our minds really do start as a void, then mathematics is a fragile human invention, a cultural artifact that would vanish if we simply stopped teaching it. However, numerical cognition appears in subjects who have never seen a textbook. Cognitive studies on infants reveal a startling baseline. 6-month-olds, lacking any formal language, show immediate physiological surprise when objects behind a screen change quantity in a way that violates basic arithmetic. This ability extends across the animal kingdom. Crows track the number of hunters entering a forest, and primates consistently identify the larger of two fruit yields without counting them one by one. The presence of these skills across species identifies number sense as a physical, biological inheritance rather than a cultural discovery. The foundational code of our mathematical brain is etched into our neuroanatomy. This 3D map reveals the exact location of that hardware. Deep within the parietal lobe sits the intraparietal sulcus, or IPS. It activates instantly. When you see a group of objects, this circuit assesses the quantity long before you begin consciously counting. This is the approximate number system. It provides an immediate read on magnitude, functioning independently from the precise symbolic math we learn as children. Evolution refined this internal calculator over millions of years, allowing our ancestors to gauge threats and resources in a split second. Every healthy human brain contains this dedicated hardware. Regardless of how you performed in school, the biological foundation for mathematics is already operational in your mind. Arabic numerals and complex equations are the user interface, not the mathematics itself. Symbols like 7 or pi were developed to bridge the gap between our raw biological perception and our need for cultural precision. Classroom success depends on the rule of substitution. Learning works when we can successfully link a new written symbol to the pre-existing biological sense of quantity already stored in the IPS. This makes the distinction between hardware failures like dyscalculia and software failures like math anxiety. One is a rare biological glitch. The other is a breakdown in how the symbolic code was introduced. We are born with the hardware. Learning math is the process of installing the most efficient symbolic software to run on top of it. The myth of the math brain falls apart when you realize that every human brain is designed to process quantity. Math anxiety acts as a psychological noise. It creates a signal blockage that prevents the symbolic software from communicating with the biological hardware underneath. This suggests a shift in how we teach. Strengthening our intuitive, animalistic sense of numbers creates a more stable foundation for the complex symbols that come later. If the IPS is standard human equipment, then mathematical fluency is a universal capacity. Access to it should be viewed as a biological right, as fundamental as the right to develop speech or sight. Viewing math as a biological sense, no different from hearing, changes the nature of the struggle. It removes the personal shame of not being smart enough and reframes it as a simple need for a better interface. These pages represent the potential of a biological system not yet restricted by a single set of symbols. The journey of mathematics is the story of taking an evolutionary survival tool and refining it into a universal language. The physical structures of our brains are built to resonate with the mathematical laws governing the universe. Our very anatomy mirrors the logic of the universe. We are born reflecting the laws we later spend our lives trying to name.